Hello, welcome to Indicator 13 Support Secondary Transition. This session is being recorded and can be found on our YouTube channel, State Support Team Region 8. If you're viewing this, you have probably had a finding in your special ed profile. So we will go through what is needed to clear this finding. This is Helen Brophy. I'm the lead point of contact for post-secondary transition, and my email is below, helenb@sst8.org, and I will be helping you with this process. You can follow along with the bit.ly below to access the slides for this presentation by following the link below. Indicator-specific meeting agenda. So what we're going to do is go over the indicator itself, the overview, a brief summary of the Self-Review Summary Report, SRSR, considerations for district team membership, scheduling the SRSR, and common challenges when going through Indicator 13. General information on all special education indicators were presented earlier, and those slides were recorded, and there's an overview session that you can look at that talks about all the different indicators by following the link below. Okay, 2021-22 Indicator Review Process Manual. The review manual for transition will be linked in the special education profile, but we had also linked it here that will take you directly to the Indicator 13 section of the manual. And okay, so I'm going to go over the indicator review for 13 post-secondary transition. Okay, first of all, the only way you can get a finding in Indicator 13, and I don't know how many people know this, is if there is a data error in EMIS for reporting students 16 years and above not having a transition plan in place. Now, I know in Ohio, we start the transition plan at the age 14, but what gets reported to the federal government is 16 years and above. And like I said, you won't have an indicator finding unless there's an EMIS error. So first of all, what we have to do is look into the EMIS error. So there will be an investigation of data reporting error. Now, part of this error could be solved by the student having graduated, withdrawn, or exited from services. If it's only that, it will be an easy fix for the data reporting error. You will submit the student record items that are required, and that will be outlined in your manual. If the data error is cleared, no further action is required. And like I said, this may be an easy fix. You will have to show the graduation date, the withdrawn date, or the exited from services. If not, OEC will review the transition plan using the Indicator 13 checklist. And if you remember, Indicator 13 has 8 questions and 3 items for a combined total of 24, which must be marked yes or not applicable to be 100% compliant. District not meeting compliance of the record will have a 2-prong correction. And like I said earlier, this could be a 2-prong. If which will include the correction of the transition plan record or records and the data reporting error. So if you have a data reporting error, we're going to fix, we'll have to talk about how we're going to prevent further discrepancies in EMIS, and then we will have to talk about correcting the transition plan itself. So February 9th of 2022 is the data appeal form, if applicable. If you believe it's a data error, then you can appeal, and you will provide student record submission form and student record items for investigation of records. So like I had said previously, there could be a data appeal that you will be totally cleared from. graduation, exit from services, or withdrawn from the district. So that is important to make sure you meet that deadline. The Self-Review Summary Report, or the SRSR. Let's talk a little bit about that. Okay, you must be ready to consider, like I said, first and foremost, EMIS reporting errors. Because if there was just not a plan in place and it's not corrected by graduation, withdrawn from district, or withdrawn from special education services, then you have an EMIS reporting error. And there will be a plan for how we're going to make sure that EMIS transition plans being reported to EMIS are reported correctly, and that your EMIS person has the information, and that the staff has the correct information. I kind of had said, you know, you may not have this error if the student has graduated or withdrawn from the district or exited special ed services. Okay, the next thing you're going to have to consider, students 16 and above without a transition plan in place. Why? If none of the above errors were due to graduation, withdrawn, or exited, why wasn't there a service plan in place? Could it be it just wasn't reported? But this will all go into your data reporting self-review summary. So if you have an error in your data reporting, you will also have what is prong 2. If they will open your transition plan to see if it meets all requirements of indicator 13, all 8 elements 100% compliant. So if that is good to go, you'll only have the data reporting error. If not, be prepared to correct the transition plan, and it must be 100% compliant. This is where you're going to want me to look over your transition plan. Because I am on review teams with the state, and I do know what they're looking for and what would be 100% compliant. If the corrected transition plan does not meet indicator 13 requirements and a systemic problem is identified, be prepared for the self-review summary report combined with an improvement plan in data reporting errors and record of non-compliance. So you will be combining a self-review summary for data errors and transition plan. And you will be correcting those and have an improvement plan to prevent that from happening in the future. So let's move on with what happens next if this happens. Okay, the due date is April 1st, 2022 for the self-review summary report and the improvement plan due date. So with the self-review summary, basically we're going to talk about why there was an error, how we're going to correct those errors for EMIS reporting and for a non-compliant transition plan. So we'll do the self-review summary as to what happened, where was the breakdown, and then the improvement plan is how we're going to prevent that from happening. And these will all be due by April 1st. And I will be working with you on these reports. By May 13th, 2022, student record submission form, record items for individual correction of non-compliant records are due. So you will be correcting any of the non-compliant records and submitting them by May 13th. Which will be checked again from 100% compliance. So that is why I suggest being in touch with me to have me look through your transition plan. September 30th of 2022, that's when your improvement plan activities have to be completed, along with student record submission form. So basically, if there becomes a systemic issue and you need to go through training, you will need to submit dates of the trainings, people involved, and the other information that was shared in the morning session. So this will all be due by September 30th. And then again, the investigation process may be repeated if applicable. Okay, considerations for team membership. Okay, suggested team members for indicator 13, secondary transition. General education partners, school psychologists, special education teachers, building principals. And I also want to suggest here, if you have a transition coordinator, they would be, definitely should be included. Okay, scheduling the SRSR or self-review summary report. In the next slide, you will see some dates that I have held for this process. Okay, the available dates I have right now for doing the summary report would be January 28th, February 2nd, 2022, February 8th, 22, and February 17th, 2022. Now, I have those currently held on my calendar, available from 8 to 4. I would need you to email me with a time that works best for your district. Like I said, there could be just a data reporting error that may be cleared, and on the conditions that I had mentioned earlier in the slides. But these dates are held so that we can have a discussion, do the self-review summary report, and do corrections. Okay, some of the common challenges or missteps when correcting indicator 13. Okay, I had said this previously, the only way a district gets an indicator 13 finding is due to a data reporting error. And I have said this possibly in trainings, that just because you don't have a finding in indicator 13 on your special ed profile doesn't mean your transition plan is compliant. The only way your transition plan is checked by the state, unless you're in a review, is if there is an EMIS reporting data error. And then that brings into play the transition plan. Not having a communication plan for staff and EMIS, so errors do not occur, so that there's a communication between special ed director, principals, intervention specialists, and your EMIS coordinator, so that we know all the different codes for EMIS that apply to the secondary transition plan. I said this earlier, assuming district transition plans are 100% compliant because the district has not had a finding. And like I said, the only way you get a finding, unless you're in a review, would be if you get a data error. And then we will go from there and they will check your transition plan. The other misstep would be not meeting deadline dates for corrections. And I know we've been going through some crazy years, but we will need to meet these deadlines for corrections. And that's why SST8 is here to support you. And like I said, you could have just prong one, which would be the data reporting error, or you may be cleared of the data reporting error on the instances I had mentioned previously on a student withdrawing from the district, student graduating, or student exiting services. And you will just need to show proof to the state, and there's a process for that. However, if you have a prong two finding, with the transition plan needs to be confirmed, the transition plan needs to be confirmed with your SST8 transition consultant, which is me. And like I said, I have been on several reviews and worked significantly with indicator 13. So I know what will be a compliant indicator. So please, please, please reach out to me. I know we'll be on the self-review summary, but also make sure I see your transition plan before it's uploaded. Be prepared to describe how transition information will be disseminated to middle school and high school staff. That could also involve administrators too, and that could be in the form of a training, and we will get to that part as we see what plays out with your indicator 13. The superintendent must sign the SRSR and the improvement plan. Some things that have happened in the past, because the pupil services or special ed director is, they implement, it's their department. They're working with the intervention specialist or the transition coordinator. Sometimes they think they signed the implementation and then the overview, or they have maybe a support personnel that signs the implementation and then they sign the overview. No, the special ed director or pupil personnel will sign the implementing of the review and the improvement plan, but your superintendent must sign that it has been implemented. Okay, question and answer. We will have question and answers live on our Q&A on January 12th. The transitions Q&A will be from 3 to 3:30 p.m. And here is the Zoom link and your passcode. And if by some odd chance you cannot make that Q&A session, please feel free to reach out to me and we will, I can answer almost any questions you have. And if not, I can point you in the right direction or reach out to the state as needed. So thank you for your time and attention. Once again, support is our middle name, so please reach out to schedule your self-review summary report anytime and email or call me anytime with questions. Thank you.